Ryan, what's on your very excellent radar today?
Well, on Monday, Fox News host Jesse Waters told his viewers that an explosive scandal was brewing. Let's roll that clip.
Durham's documents show that Hillary Clinton hired people who hacked into Trump's home and office computers before and during his presidency and planted evidence that he colluded with Russia. Yeah, you heard that right. Hillary broke into a presidential candidate's computer server and a sitting president's computer server, spying on him. There, her hackers planted evidence, fabricated evidence connecting Trump to Russia, then fed that doctored material to the feds and the media.
What Waters is describing there is a crime of extraordinary proportions, one that really would make Watergate look trivial by comparison. And indeed, Watergate has been mentioned in the context of Clinton and this new Durham filing probably hundreds of times in recent days. So let's go to the documents that Waters is referring to and see if his claims check out. After all, Waters spends a huge amount of his time attacking the mainstream media as fake news that is only slinging Democratic propaganda, so surely Waters himself wouldn't do the same thing in reverse, right? Now, because we're in an era of complete distrust of the media, I won't paraphrase the documents, but I'll just read them. So here's what Waters is basing his claim on. The indictment also alleges that, beginning in approximately July 2016, Tech Executive One had worked with the defendant, a U.S. investigative firm retained by Law Firm One on behalf of the Clinton campaign, numerous cyber researchers, and employees at multiple internet companies to assemble the purported data and white papers. In connection with these efforts, Tech Executive One exploited his access to non-public and/or proprietary internet data. Tech Executive One also enlisted the assistance of researchers at a U.S.-based university who were receiving and analyzing large amounts of internet data in connection with a pending federal government cybersecurity research contract. Tech Executive One tasked these researchers to mine internet data to establish an inference and narrative tying then-candidate Trump to Russia. In doing so, Tech Executive One indicated that he was seeking to please certain VIPs, referring to individuals at Law Firm One and the Clinton campaign. Okay, so the tech executive used internet data that he already had at his disposal to try to link Trump and Russia. Now, we already knew that, and that is indeed a scandal worth pursuing, but the filing doesn't say anything about planting evidence or hacking. So let's go on. Here's the next paragraph. The government's evidence at trial will also establish that among the internet data Tech Executive One and his associates exploited was domain name system DNS, internet traffic pertaining to a particular healthcare provider, Trump Tower, Donald Trump's Central Park West apartment building, and the executive office of the President of the United States. A Tech Executive One's employer, Internet Company One, had come to access and maintain dedicated servers for the EOP, the Executive Office of the President, as part of a sensitive arrangement whereby it provided DNS resolution services to the EOP. Tech Executive and his associates exploited this arrangement by mining the EOP's DNS traffic and other data for the purpose of gathering derogatory information about Donald Trump. Okay, again, so the cybersecurity company had a contract with the Obama White House and used that data access to try to link Trump and Russia. That's worth knowing, but again, it doesn't say anything about hacking or planting evidence. And that's what the conservative media has been saying is in the filing. Now, there's one more paragraph, and it's the longest, but again, let's go through the whole thing so we all have the same facts at our disposal. This is paragraph 6. It says, the indictment further details that on February 9th, 2017, the defendant provided an updated set of allegations, including the Russian bank data and additional allegations relating to a case against to a second agency of the U.S. government, this is Agency 2, that's the CIA. The government's evidence at trial will establish that these additional allegations relied in part on the purported DNS traffic that Tech Executive One and others had assembled pertaining to Trump Tower, Donald Trump's New York City apartment building, the EOP, and the aforementioned healthcare provider. In his meeting with Agency 2, the defendant provided data which he claimed reflected purportedly suspicious DNS lookups by these entities of the Internet Protocol address affiliated with a Russian mobile phone provider. The defendant further claimed that these lookups demonstrated that Trump and/or his associates were using supposedly rare Russian-made wireless phones in the vicinity of the White House and other locations. The special counsel's office has identified no support for these allegations. Indeed, more complete DNS data that the special counsel's office obtained from a company that assisted Tech Executive One in assembling these allegations reflects that such DNS lookups were far from rare in the United States. For example, the more complete data that Tech Executive One and his associates gathered but did not provide to Agency 2 reflected that between approximately 2014 and 2017, there were a total of more than 3 million lookups of Russian phone provider IP addresses that originated with US-based IP addresses. Fewer than 1,000 of these lookups originated with IP addresses affiliated with Trump Tower. In addition, the more complete data assembled by Tech Executive One and his associates reflected that DNS lookups involving the EOP and Russian phone provider began at least as early as 2014 during the Obama administration and years before Trump took office, another fact which the allegations omitted. Okay, that's it. So nothing about planting evidence. Do you see anything in there about planting evidence? So compare what I just read to you to what Jesse Watters claims was in there. He said, quote, "You heard that right. Hillary broke into a presidential candidate's computer server and a sitting president's computer server, spying on them. There, her hackers planted evidence, fabricated evidence connecting Trump to Russia, then fed that doctored material to the feds and the media." Now you can scroll back and read the filing for yourself again. Nowhere does it describe anything close to hacking into a sitting president's server and planting evidence. If you want to say that having a university analyze internet DNS data, that is spying, okay, that's fine, but that's not typically what people mean when they use that phrase. Now, full disclosure, in our first show after this news broke, we covered it based on the Fox News report. So that's a still right there from our show in which we talked about the Fox report. And notice that in their headline and in their lead, they put infiltrate in quotes. And their source for the claim of infiltration is, quote, "a filing from special counsel John Durham," unquote. Except, as I just read to you, nowhere does the word infiltrate appear in the filing. You can go find the filing and you can do Control F for infiltrate if you don't believe me. It's not in there. So what on earth is it doing, in quotes, sourced to the filing? That's just lying. If you dig deeper into their story, you find that the word infiltrate actually came from Kash Patel, who's a Republican operative putting his spin on the filing. It's an audacious claim to make, but Patel must have known his claim wouldn't have been checked. And instead of checking it, in fact, Fox slapped it in a headline and spread it everywhere. As Mark Twain said, a lie can travel around the world and back again while the truth is lacing up its boots. Now, I hadn't yet read the filing when we first covered it. Now, believe it or not, we don't read every filing behind every news article that we discuss, although we should, and I'm sorry for missing this one. But now that I have, I can give you a more accurate take on what's in it. A tech company working for the Clinton campaign analyzed internet data at the Obama White House and at the Trump Tower, looking for a connection between Trump and Russia. They then shared what it found with law enforcement, no doubt hoping to create a scandal. And we also know that the deep state used the investigation into that alleged connection to try to destroy Trump's presidency. Now, I may have hated Trump as president, but no unelected bureaucracy teamed up with the presidential campaign should have the power to destroy a president. That's the people's job. Now, maybe Durham's eventual report will offer evidence that the Clinton campaign did actually hack Trump's servers or plant evidence there, but he hasn't said so yet. And if a news outlet tells you otherwise, they're either confused or they're lying to you. Now, just because the mainstream media thoroughly blew it on Russiagate doesn't mean conservative media doesn't have its own problems here. If you don't like being lied to by the MSM, you shouldn't like being lied to by Fox either. You can't call your political opponents blind sheeple without also being critical of your own sources of information when they do this sort of thing. Otherwise, you're no different than them. You're just wearing a different colored shirt. And so, Ryan, I think people can confuse whether or not what the Clinton campaign generally did as scandalous, which I think it is. Like I think their role in pushing Russiagate is not only scandalous but deserves even more investigation. They can confuse that fact with what's in this Durham filing. Mm-hmm. And just when you look at the narrow confines of the Durham filing, which Fox News has been yelling at the rest of the media for not covering, you find that the way that they covered it is just fundamentally inaccurate.
Yeah, I've looked at it more closely now, and I mean, it's just as you say, it's not nearly as incendiary as the headlines, particularly the word infiltrate. This was information that is publicly available. They didn't have to do anything hacking or anything of the like to obtain it. And then it was given to this lawyer. Like, look, you can say it was underhanded. The Clinton campaign was reaching for anything. Yeah. I would say that. Yeah. It was a bad campaign, badly run campaign, an unethical campaign. But this aspect of it also isn't really beyond the pale for campaigns. I mean, if you could have brought this information to anyone on any side, and that's something that would have been looked into. Not saying it's not to justify it, but so it was not from all the things that the Clinton campaign did. This isn't actually that out there so far, based on what we know. We could learn more, but yeah, they really jumped the gun on the reporting on this one because it's not hacking, it's not infiltration. Yes, they were looking for any angle. And this is to create a kind of stupid controversy over Russian involvement, but
right. When there's so much there that's interesting for somebody like Jesse Waters to say that she hacked into the servers and planted evidence, and then took that planted evidence to law enforcement. It's like, what are you talking about? Yeah. And I'm sure at the same time he's like, yeah, I really hope Sarah Palin is able to nail the New York Times for its defamation, in its defamation case, where the New York Times said that her hack may have inspired this kid to do to shoot Gabby Giffords, and then they immediately corrected it and have called it a mistake, and now it's being fought over. This is still up.
No, I'm seeing a lot of people in right-wing media in reaction to the Palin verdict, which, by the way, so the verdict was she lost, but also the judge just basically threw it out. He said, in my opinion, there isn't enough evidence here, and then they told the jury that before they reached a. So I mean, I don't know.
Weird.
It's a jury not knowing that this was just going to get thrown out might have reached a different conclusion, in my opinion. But anyway, I'm seeing a lot of right-wing people saying this is how we know we have to change libel law so that it's easier to get media people in trouble.
Careful
okay, right-wing media.
For Jesse Waters, because go to court and try to back up the claims he made there.
Impossible. Right, we won't go into your past history with Jesse Waters here.
I can be unbiased.
Okay. Google that if you're interested.
Anyway, I'm really looking forward to your radar. I hear you got some secretly recorded audio.
Yes, I do.
Can't wait for that.
Stay tuned.